Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie video, taken from the HFY subreddit called Dragon Sickness, written by Rav0004. A link to the original story will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Ancient humans used gold as a currency. They abandoned this practice when the economy vastly outstripped their homeworld supply of the element. But the mentality persisted. When humans arrived at the galactic stage, it was not long before they demanded all trade with them be conducted in the material. The humans' first interplanetary war begun on a small human colony of Yukon, an ocean planet so close to its parent star, the sea was still filled with heavier elements. It was also, coincidentally, right in the middle of the Durkai space. The humans only made it there first due to a 50-year head start of the galactic expansion. Both newcomers on the galactic scene, both neighbors who still hadn't learned the value of peace. The other citizens of the galaxy made no attempt to stem their fighting. For the Galactic Council as a whole, human fascination with gold led to most species to believe that the humans relied upon its chemical properties in their electronics tech. Primitive, but certainly capable. This lie was what the Durkai scientists and experts on human tech told their military leaders. This lie was what most lost them the war. Humans had developed nanoscale electronics and quantum computing like everyone else. In the aftermath of the conflict, relief efforts spread across the fledgling Durkai colonies. In the wreckage of their homeworld, their surface dotted with craters thousands of kilometers across. Relief forces and surveyors discovered the humans' weapons fired wasn't targeting Durkai population centers or military fortifications, but rather at veins of ore in the planet's crust that had not been discovered. Humanity had strip-mined the planet, and then they had left. In the human second interstellar war, Ethernet, Sexpra, and Durkai forces seized the human homeworld of Earth, hoping to demoralize their people. What they had discovered was a barren wasteland, a more desolate wreck than the humans had left at Durkan. The planet was a cesspool of smog and concrete, another fatal misunderstanding of the human perspective. When the Council first translated the human's name from the homeworld of Earth, there was no surprise to learn that the word meant dirt or ground in their language. This was a common nomenclature for the intelligent beings of the galaxy. That which you stood on was home, that which you grew up on was home. But the Council would soon discover that Earth wasn't named after the ground that they grew upon. Unlike other species of the galaxy, humans did not name their home for the soil that reminded them of their birth. They named it for its poverty, insufficient, penniless, worthless dirt. Named for the one thing that they had in abundance, the one thing to them which was worth so little. They left as soon as they discovered a way to escape their solar system. Earth meant nothing to them, and they had named it as such. So poor was the planet in resources that aliens who landed found themselves trapped in its significant gravity well, with nothing to synthesize star fuel and no way to escape. They say humanity won its second war by sacrificing their home in a brilliant military maneuver. But the truth was that their enemies simply wasted all of their resources holding onto a world that meant nothing to anyone. Humans made many colonies as they expanded their sphere of influence, bolstered by the continuing misunderstanding of their enemies and neighbors. They began to be known as a fanciful species, one who preferred living in their heads and naming the worlds after make-believe myths and stories. El Dorado, Araba, Nox, as if you actually read those human stories. It paints a different picture. The city of gold, the lonely mountain, wealth beyond measure. Humans dreamed of one thing, and one thing only: gold. Have you ever been on a human planet, to a human capital? The architecture is wondrous. The Council races had visited humanity's worlds in their early years, when they had nothing but the dirt at their feet and meant nothing to the galaxy as a whole. They were catalogued as a species who built things from metal, reinforced stone and glass, and then left to their own devices for 200 years. The Council had done their job of introducing them to the universe at large, and let them on their way. But after 2 wars and 2 military victories, they wanted a closer look at the upstart species of the metal-lusting apes. What they found was frightening and hauntingly beautiful. Elaborate palaces built from gold, starships constructed entirely of glimmering metal, reflecting starlight in a yellow hue across miles and miles of terraformed landscape reflecting it back. What the council found was a waste of wealth so far in excess that it wasn't long before pillaging human worlds for their stores of treasure became some species' top priority. Humanity's third interstellar war was won, once again, by yet another fatal misunderstanding. Human and Calgulagan-class destroyers glimmered in the light of the stars, beacons of the opulent and wasted wealth. Their gold-clad hull blaring their presence on scanners over 10 systems away. Like the dragons of human myth, they guarded their hordes with a fierce jealousy. Council inspectors found human bridges, much like the ship's hulls that were ground-based capitals, absolutely coated in gold to the point of ludicrousness. Humans called it the gilding, and it was an artistic act involving coating an object, whether small or large, in gold, enough to give it an appearance as though the entire object was made from the metal, but not so much as to be wasteful. A layer so thin coated on top, and so austere and efficient, they could afford to spend more of it elsewhere. A paradox. An artistic style so gluttonous and wasteful that they had to resort to being as cheap and efficient as possible. To spend as little as could be spent. Everything that the humans made was this way. When pillaging Oriton and scheming Claith pirates sought to land the human world known of Nox, they found an outrageous human destroyer moved with a speed literally impossible, shearing through space and skimming through atmospheres with engines nowhere near powerful enough to carry around so much atomic element 79. The same greed that they had adopted from the humans was the downfall of both the marauding races. 2 groups who had assumed human engineering was literally built around using gold as a construction material. When the Claith first cracked open a human vessel, they were stunned to find the same diamond titanium composites that they built their own ships out of, and the thinnest of layers of gold along the outside, disguising the much lighter and stronger materials. But it was too late. The war had already begun by the time knowledge of the Guild had spread far enough. Both species were wiped from the galaxy. Their planets, too, would eventually be mined to the core by the human hands. As the greedy glint of the alien eyes grew more watchful of humanity's spread and strength, their impact on the culture of the Council worlds grew wildly out of control. The warped demand for the golden element was so great, eventually races that had never encountered humanity were paying in gold for goods and services. The galactic credit became worthless in less than 400 years after the advent of the human empire. The galactic government as a whole collapsed 300 years later, as species flocked to humanity for protection and support. The most powerful race in the galaxy would be your friend, 4 mere specks of metal that was otherwise worthless. The great expansion, the mass settlement of the Outer Rim, owes its existence to humanity. Frontier worlds became dead set on procuring enough gold to satiate the human greed, which, of course, it never did. The dragon in human myth, a beast so ferocious and terrible. Its breath was like laser fire, its stench worse than the smog of an atmospheric engine, and their hide was stronger than the most tungsten alloys. But their defining characteristic was greed. They desired gold above all else, murdering for it, destroying for it. Jealous, greedy guardians of that which humanity desired very much. But dragons aren't real, and dragon greed isn't real. It was only ever a metaphor. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous ways to do so, listed in the description down below. The easiest and best way would be to share this video and my channel as much as possible. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope that you have a good one until then. Cheers.